All right, cool. Just want to get some thoughts out. I just had a client session and I don't know, just trying to think about this as a depository of my thoughts, especially right after learnings or as they're happening. Something I'm learning personally from all of this is as much as I wanted to create a blueprint and a step by step, follow this, in reality, it's so much better having the one on one because not only are you able to meet people where they're at, but you get to understand that it's not always as cut and dry, or at least that's what I'm learning right now. Is as much as I would like to say, hey, gain this habit of doing yoga regularly. It's like, no, people actually want or some people, I should say, want the more amorphous, less tangible behavior to habit and more of I suppose the intangibles, hey, I want to react to a conflict type of scenario in a much more mature way, much more ideal way for myself. And it just makes so much sense because so much of life is not cut and dry. It's not this direct one to one of being able to be proactive about everything. A lot of it is this reaction, right? Action is not the only type of action. There is action, there's reaction, there's interaction. So it's identifying those moments. How am I responding right now? And how do I want to respond? What's the gap between those? And then how do I close that gap? So there's just to reiterate for myself, people want specific direction, specific customized type of solutions, or at least thinking about what's going wrong and how do I improve it. And I'm finding more and more that the on paper, the ideal versus the typical is the gap we're trying to close. And on paper, it's easy to say, but then it comes, how do we do this? How do we actually make this change become a reality? And the circumstance that I went through today with a client was let's identify those moments and what are the awareness type of things that are coming through in your body? How can you recognize that this is happening in the future? And then once that's established, what's the appropriate response? What's your desired response? And then let's get some reps. Like I think this is where a lot of things fall short is the getting of the rep and trying to, as much as you can, make that scenario become a reality. Make that scenario as close to that thing as possible. Like we don't want to battle test our armor in battle, right? We want to do it on the training ground. So how can I get myself almost in that same state? In this case, it was a identifying a shortness of breath almost, where they started to get a little heated, a little defense, a little like hairs on the neck going up. So how can you notice that, identify that as a thing, and then try to artificially create that scenario so that you can practice as close as you can to the game. So it's reenacting that emotion. And then, okay, here's the response. I'm going to practice that. It's the same thing as you're being super proactive about, hey, I want to do yoga, getting your mat out, whatever it is, getting that domino transition, cue to action, that becomes a reaction. So we're trying to get those reps of that action from that cue. And in this case, it's something where it's a reactive so that that state that we can use our body almost as this canary in the coal mine of, hey, this is the scenario that you're in. This is the type of the moment that I want to recognize in the future, artificially inducing that in yourself and getting those practice reps in the safety of the sandbox, right? Just with yourself. Maybe you could use someone else if it entails other people. And just making sure that you're giving yourself that time and that space to practice. I think many of us identify the solution on paper, like, oh, hey, that's what I want to do. But when it comes to actually doing it, you're in this heated moment, you're in this frenzy. It's a very difficult thing to close the empathy gap, the hot cold empathy gap. I forget who it was, but tip the cap to them. Um, so yeah, just identifying that moment, getting the reps when you can, and making sure that you practice based on that same type of cue. Get the response you want, ideal on paper, find the moment that it is, try to recreate that moment, get the rep of the right way, it'll be much more likely to happen. Um, cool. Just gonna see how this goes and do more from here. I don't know how to